This is a video review of Transformers 4 Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Drift. Drift is kind of an interesting figure for me because he has a lot of problems, especially in his legs, and there are problems that if any other figure had these problems, I would hate the figure. But I don't hate Drift for some reason, so I don't know how objective I can be in this review, because I can't quite quantify my own opinion in a way that satisfies me. But anyway, this is his vehicle mode. I like it quite a bit. It's very nice and shiny. For the most part, it fits together well, but this one panel I can never get set down quite right, because like you can see a gap right there, so I feel like it should be able to go down more, but it doesn't. Rolls quite well. One thing that you're supposed to be able to do, and it works well for the large swords, is you're supposed to be able to store his swords on him. These store under here quite well. They do sometimes drag a little bit, so I'm not a big fan of storing them down there, especially because I'm not a big fan of these swords anyway. I'll explain why when we get to robot mode. But the problematic accessories are these little tiny knives. You're supposed to be able to store these in a vehicle mode. There are little holes under, or not holes, but slots under here for these pegs to go into, that you would plug them under here, and then they would sit in grooves underneath this piece. I find that whenever I try and do that, and I can't really show it off without exploding this, and I wouldn't be able to show the transformation from car mode to robot mode perfectly. I'll show them a bit more when I actually get to robot mode, but the way that you're supposed to be able to store these doesn't really work, and it will make this fit even worse than it already does. So anyway, to start the transformation, you're going to take the doors, bring them up like this, and then you're going to take the arms and bring them out like this. And the important thing to notice is that the hands here sit inside of these inside this armor right here. They sit between the armor and the universal joint of the leg. So when you're transforming to car mode, keep that in mind, because that kind of threw me for a loop the first time I transformed this guy. Then you'll take this piece right here, you'll bring it up onto his back like this. Then you'll take this entire section up like this. Now what's also important to notice is that it doesn't just hinge forward. Like if I try and push this down like this, it won't fit. So what you need to do is you need to realize that there's a slider that this entire thing is on, and you need to press it down on that slider like that, if you can see that, and that's what allows it to fit properly in there. So anyway, you'll bring this up, you'll bend the legs forward, you'll fold this down, and bring the head up. Then you'll rotate this around, and there's this little section right here which will tab onto the back of his neck like that, and that will form his backpack right there. Now we're starting to see his robot mode, and we'll take his legs or his feet and bring them down like this, and then these are supposed to fold back, and these will fold down behind his knees like that. And then we'll split the legs, and this is Drift in his robot mode. And I really do like this robot mode, the way it looks at the very least, because, well, oftentimes I dislike figures that have really dark color schemes because they kind of suck up light and it's hard to see the detail. But on this guy, it kind of works because all the important details are picked out in this really nice turquoise. And then the gold on his face and stuff, and basically it ends up being that the blue color is very nice, but I don't feel like it just sucks up light, because what I want to see, I can see. So it ends up being a very nice color scheme, and I like it quite a bit. Now, for posability in this mode, the legs go forward and back, and you'll notice that they're going back together like this. The reason why is because the discs, or the mushroom caps are inside of here, are pressing together inside of the pelvis here. There's not much room, so they can move individually, but they're going to rub against each other, and there's not much you can really do about this. The most you could do is tighten the joint at the seam right there, and then hope that tightening it makes it so that if you move one forward, that the friction on the other leg keeps it from moving forward too. It's not that big of a problem, but it is there. Then you can rotate the legs like this, but this armor here will bump into stuff, and it does get annoying, especially when you start moving the leg up like this. The armor will prevent him from getting into some more dynamic poses. Now, the thing about his legs that I really don't like is these pieces right here. If you just have these pressed up against the back of his leg, which is the easiest way to grip his leg, by the way, he does not have much knee articulation, barely any. if you fold this up, then he does have a fair amount of knee articulation, but then this will start scraping against plastic up here. So I would need to shave off plastic and ruin part of the sculpt of the figure to be able to just have this straight up like that. The other option is to have this all the way back like this, but that makes it so it's very hard to grip onto the leg and still move it. So I am not a fan of the way the legs are constructed. And the other problem I have is that he doesn't really have much of a kneecap. So, I mean, he does have one, but the legs end up going a little bit too far forward. Even though it looks straight, it's not actually straight because of the angle of his foot here, because the angle doesn't go the foot doesn't go all the way straight. And that also has a problem when you're transforming into the vehicle mode, because there's no... The kneecap, this is not where you want the leg to be when you're transforming to the car. You want it bent back a little bit, but because the kneecap doesn't have it, doesn't make it so that you stop right there, it makes it very awkward and sort of mushy to transform him, because you need to just keep finagling everything until it finally fits. So the legs are the big problems on this figure. I really hate his legs. I wish they had done him a little bit better. The other thing about the legs is that he does not have a flat instep, even though there was more than enough opportunity to give him a flat instep with the molding. And that means that it is very hard for him to stand sometimes, because to stand you need a point at the back and a point at the front. If there's anything interrupting him, like, oh, I don't know, anything that's in here, then you kind of get... well, you just fall over, or you wobble a lot. So his feet aren't that great either. They work, but they're not that great. And they would be a little bit better if you didn't have this armor here, because then you could rotate the foot a little bit to kind of angle the feet in a way that works better, but the armor will get in the way. So yeah, the legs are the big failure for me. If they had changed the legs, like they just cut a little notch out here, just a little square notch, that would have been a lot better. If they had given them a flat instep, which should be mandatory for all Transformers, a flat instep. I don't know why Hasbro does not do it. If they had just done that, given them a kneecap, and made just this section here, maybe even just stay like that, and then sculpt it so that it can go past here without scraping, then I would have liked the legs a lot better, and this guy would be a winner in my book. But there are just too many, not just issues, but careless issues with the legs. The head and the arms are fine. The head can go around like this. It's on a ball joint. Look up and down, even wiggle a little bit side to side. The arms go around 360. They go in and out. Bends at the elbow, rotates at the elbow, and this can get in the way, but you can move it out of the way, so it's not that big of an issue. And yeah, there we go. That's most of the robot mode. For the weapons, you can store the tiny swords back here, or you can store them on similar things up in here. And the let's see if I can get a better view of those. These slots right here for these pegs are how you're supposed to be able to store these in the vehicle mode, and I already talked about how that doesn't really work. Like, you're supposed to be able to... There are little grooves in here that you're supposed to be able to put these into to make them sit right in the vehicle mode, but it just doesn't work. It keeps this thing from... this thing from going down even more, and so... I'm just not pleased with these things, and they have the same handle design as the swords, which I'll talk about the swords now, because the swords are also a problem for me. Because watch what happens when I put the sword... Well, it's not actually that the swords are the problem, although they kind of are, because these are not 5mm handles. They are actually kind of... well, they're not completely round, but if you put them in his hands, they just wobble a lot. They don't sit sturdy, so I just don't like the swords that much. They're not bad, but this one's quite a bit better, but this one right here I just don't like, so I'm not a fan of his weapons. I like him more without the weapons, and so I've told you what I don't like about this guy. Even in spite of the problems I have with him, I still really like this guy, and I feel like I should recommend him to you, because I've had a lot of fun playing with this guy. I just don't know what about him I enjoyed so much that made it so that the leg issues aren't that big of an issue for me, because they really should be a big issue. So anyway, this has been a video review of Transformers 4 Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Drift. He's at least mildly recommended, but if you got nothing else to buy or nothing else to interest you, I would check him out. I mean, I do like him more than some of the Dinobots, and certainly more than High Octane Bumblebee. High Octane Bumblebee was okay, but it's another Bumblebee. So anyway, if you want to see more videos like these, please subscribe. I review Transformers, Power Rangers, Digimon, Macross figures, lots of stuff like that. There are some links in the video description, some Facebook and playlists links, and thank you for watching.